Remy loves exploring internet myths, but a new dark web messaging box changes everything today. What starts as a routine video shoot in a neon-lit Oklahoma City studio quickly spirals into an absolute nightmare. An anonymous source demands a massive crypto transfer, and the static avatar on the screen does the impossible. It blinks. Paranoia sets in as the digital glitch perfectly matches an old offline legend. Is it just a simple rendering error, or is something truly watching from the other side of the screen? Remy must find the truth before the crypto timer runs out and the digital ghost becomes a permanent resident of the physical world. The cooling fans hummed a steady, unsettling rhythm inside the dimly lit Oklahoma City studio, vibrating through the floorboards and rattling the loose cables on the desk. Neon purple lights cast long, sharp shadows across the acoustic foam panels, making the small room feel like a cage to keep secrets in. Remy adjusted the camera angle, fingers flying across the mechanical keyboard with eager precision, ready to capture the ultimate digital mystery for the evening broadcast. The anonymous messaging box finally loaded, glowing with a harsh, blinding white light against the dark room. A cryptic text overlay appeared in bold red letters, demanding a transfer of 5,000 USD to unlock the hidden video file. Remy leaned closer, analytical mind racing through the usual scam tactics and social engineering tricks. Then, the static avatar shifted. The pixelated eye twitched, executing a perfect, deliberate blink that sent a chill down the spine. Remy froze, the enthusiastic energy draining instantly into a cold, paralyzing dread. The phone on the desk buzzed, breaking the heavy silence. Remy grabbed it, putting it on speaker, desperate for a second opinion. "Olivia, the avatar actually blinked. It is demanding crypto," Remy said, voice shaking. Olivia's voice crackled through the speaker, calm and grounded. "Remy, breathe. It is just a rendering trick. Come to the shop." Remy stared at the frozen screen, heart hammering against their ribs. "But why does it look exactly like the old park statue Zachary mentioned?" The avatar's eye twitched again, a micro-tremor that perfectly matched the physical description of the offline legend Zachary had described. The glowing monitor cast harsh shadows as Remy frantically searched for a logical explanation. The digital entity felt alive, watching every single move with an unseen, malicious intent. The crypto timer ticked down relentlessly, sealing the dread and locking the room in a suffocating silence. Remy gripped the edge of the desk, knuckles turning white. It was just code, but the heart pounded like a physical threat standing right behind the chair. The eerie eye fueled a deep, terrifying paranoia, blurring the line between an internet myth and a very real, very present danger. The screen demanded the funds, and the static eye seemed to wait for the final click. Remy knew the rules of the deep web, but this felt different. The air in the room grew heavy, thick with an unspoken tension that made every breath feel like a chore. The neon lights flickered briefly, casting a momentary strode effect across the desk. Remy blinked, trying to clear the visual fatigue, but the avatar remained fixed on the screen. The pixelated face was a mosaic of gray and black squares, yet it possessed an undeniable, unsettling presence. It was as if the code itself was observing the room, learning the layout, memorizing the exits. Remy rubbed their tired eyes, wondering if the lack of sleep was finally causing hallucinations. But the phone call with Olivia confirmed the screen was doing something impossible. The digital world was bleeding into the physical one, and Remy was trapped in the middle of the spill. Remy paced the length of the dimly lit Oklahoma City studio, the acoustic foam panels seeming to close in with every frantic step. The cooling fans hummed a suffocating, relentless drone, amplifying the claustrophobic shadows cast by the harsh monitor glare. Rational thought was fracturing under the weight of the visual anomalies, transforming analytical curiosity into desperate paranoia. Remy stopped, staring at the screen. The crypto timer was still ticking down, a merciless countdown in bold red digits that mocked the silence of the room. Desperate to dismantle the digital myth before the demand expired, Remy grabbed the phone again, dialing Olivia back. The line clicked open after a single ring. "Olivia, I am telling you, the avatar actually blinked. It is demanding crypto, and it is not just a loop," Remy said, voice trembling, knuckles pale as they gripped the device.
Olivia's voice crackled through the speaker, calm but firm, cutting through the rising panic. "Remy, breathe. It is just a rendering trick. Come to the shop. Step away from the screen." Remy stared at the frozen image, heart hammering against their ribs like a trapped bird. "But what if it is not? My brain knows it is code, but my instincts scream it is alive." As if responding to the desperate words, the monitor emitted a harsh, glitching static. The screen tore apart in a violent cascade of digital noise, the pixels scrambling into chaotic patterns. For a split second, the glitching static briefly formed the exact shape of the offline park statue Zachary had described, the jagged crown, the hollowed eyes, the eerie posture. Remy stumbled backward and knocked over a stack of empty energy drink cans. The psychological grip of the dark web myth was intensifying, blurring the line between a simple glitch and a terrifying reality. The static cleared, leaving only the blinking crypto demand and the suffocating hum of the fans. Remy had to decide whether to trust logic or succumb to the fear, but the digital ghost felt like it was already inside the room, waiting for the final click. The shadows in the corners of the studio seemed to stretch and warp, playing tricks on an already exhausted mind. Every second that passed without a resolution only deepened the mystery, turning the familiar workspace into a labyrinth of digital dread. Trembling. The harsh monitor light cast long, distorted shapes across the acoustic foam of the Oklahoma City studio, turning the familiar room into a paranoid shadow box. Remy stood paralyzed, the phone trembling in their grip, the plastic casing slick with cold sweat. On the speaker, Olivia's voice suddenly fractured. The grounded, skeptical tone warped, pitching down into a synthetic metallic screech that perfectly mimicked the dark web notification chime. Remy flinched, a cold sweat breaking out across their forehead as the digital threat bled directly into the physical audio. "Remy, it is just code. Pull the plug right now." Olivia's voice snapped back to normal, but the damage was already done. The intense sensory overload blurred the fragile boundary between the glowing screen and the dark room. Remy's eyes darted to the monitor, unable to look away from the glowing display. The merciless red crypto timer hit 0. The bold digits flashed, but the screen did not expire. The demand did not vanish into the ether. Instead, the static avatar shifted again, its jagged edges sharpening in the dim light. The pixelated eye began to breathe. It expanded and contracted in slow, deliberate pixel durations, a rhythmic pulsing of gray and black squares that defied all known rendering logic. Remy pressed a hand to their chest, feeling the frantic drumming beneath their shirt. The breathing eye perfectly synced with their own panicked, pounding heartbeat. Thump. The eye expanded. Thump. The eye contracted. It was a biological rhythm trapped inside a digital ghost, a terrifying illusion of life woven into the very fabric of the broadcast software. The cooling fans seemed to fade into the background, replaced by the deafening roar of blood rushing in Remy's ears. A new text overlay slashed across the bottom of the screen in blinding white letters. Final transfer required to close the eye. The myth was no longer just a story. It was inside the room, breathing with them. Remy's analytical mind short-circuited, replaced by a primal, suffocating dread. The passive terror of the last hour crystallized into a sharp, physical imperative. They had to make a choice: submit to the crypto demand and feed the digital parasite, or physically sever the power cord and destroy the evidence forever. Remy's gaze locked onto the thick black power cable snaking behind the desk, disappearing into the tangle of wires. The breathing eye pulsed faster, matching the escalating spike in their heart rate. The eye is watching back, Remy said in the empty, shadowed room, the words barely audible over the hum of the machines. The digital ghost waited for the final click, but Remy's hand was already reaching for the plug, fingers hovering over the fatal disconnect.
Remy's hand hovered over the thick black power cord, trembling as the breathing eye pulsed in perfect, mocking sync with their racing heart. The digital parasite was waiting for submission, demanding the final click to feed its endless hunger. But the paralyzing dread suddenly crystallized into a sharp, defiant anger. "I am not paying a ghost," Remy whispered, the voice shaking but resolute in the suffocating darkness. "I will not let a malicious script control my mind or my wallet." With a sudden, violent lunge, Remy dropped behind the desk and wrapped both hands around the main power cable. Fingers digging into the rubber casing, they yanked the plug from the wall socket with all their remaining strength.
A brief, sharp spark flashed in the dim light, illuminating the dust motes for a fraction of a second, before the monitor instantly died. The harsh neon glare vanished. The relentless hum of the cooling fans spun down into a heavy, absolute silence. Total darkness swallowed the Oklahoma City studio. The breathing avatar was gone, erased from existence by a simple physical disconnect. Remy dropped the cable, chest heaving, lungs burning as they gasped for air in the pitch black. The paralyzing terror shattered, replaced by the cold, mundane reality of the unpowered room. The digital entity was never alive. It was just a malicious script, a cruel illusion of pixels designed to exploit fear. It was just code, Remy exhaled into the dark, the words grounding them back in physical reality. The myth was dismantled, the illusion broken. But as the adrenaline began to ebb, the absolute silence of the studio felt heavier than the digital glare. The screen was dead, yet the anonymous source was still out there. The crypto demand was just the bait. If the avatar was a fabrication, who was actually watching the studio feed? A faint, rhythmic clicking sound echoed from the shadowed corner of the room, entirely separate from the dead computer. It was a sharp, mechanical noise, tapping against the drywall in a steady, deliberate pattern. Remy froze, the restored agency instantly evaporating into a new, chilling realization. The digital ghost was merely a distraction, and the physical threat was already inside.
Remy sat frozen in the pitch black, the rhythmic clicking echoing from the shadowed corner of the Oklahoma City studio. The physical threat felt imminent, a final, terrifying trap set by the digital phantom to break their resolve. Every muscle in their body was coiled tight, waiting for a footstep, a shadow, a breach. But as their eyes slowly adjusted to the heavy gloom, the mundane reality of the physical world began to reassert itself over the lingering paranoia. The clicking was not a stalker lurking in the dark, nor was it a mechanical monster. It was the loose plastic window blind, tapping rhythmically against the glass pane in the cool night breeze. Remy let out a long, shaky breath, the oppressive digital dread instantly evaporating into the quiet, familiar hum of the city traffic outside. The breathing avatar was merely a malicious script exploiting fear, a cruel illusion of pixels designed to hijack the mind. The physical threat was just the wind. With the thick black power cord severed on the floor, the myth was completely dead. Remy reached out in the dark, fingers tracing the cold, dead bezel of the monitor. In the black glass, the screen reflected only their own calm, relieved face, softly illuminated by the faint, ambient glow of a distant street lamp filtering through the blinds. The neon purple lights of the studio were gone, replaced by a grounded, peaceful atmosphere. "Just code," Remy whispered into the quiet room, the words steady and resolute. A genuine smile finally broke through the lingering tension, relaxing their shoulders. Just a stupid script. The digital ghost was dead, and Remy was finally in absolute control, empowered to reclaim their rational mind and their online identity. The terrifying descent into internet mythology was over. The breathing eye would never pulse again. Remy slowly stood up, the joints popping in the quiet room, and walked over to the desk to gather the scattered energy drink cans. The physical act of cleaning up grounded them further, replacing the phantom adrenaline with the simple, repetitive motion of stacking aluminum cylinders. They picked up the phone from the floor, checking the screen to see a missed text from Olivia asking if they were safe. Remy typed back a quick confirmation, the glowing keyboard providing the only real light in the space. The mechanical keyboard clacked softly as they packed away the cables, coiling the thick black power cord and tossing it into the equipment bin. The studio was just a room again, stripped of its digital haunting and returned to its ordinary purpose. Leaving behind the claustrophobic shadows and the glitching static, Remy grabbed their jacket from the back of the chair and slung it over one shoulder. They walked to the window and pulled the loose plastic blind shut, silencing the rhythmic tapping that had sparked such intense terror. The cool night air brushed against their face, carrying the faint scent of Maine and asphalt from the Oklahoma City streets. Remy took one last look at the dark monitor, feeling a profound sense of closure wash over them. The internet was full of ghosts and myths,
but none of them could survive the simple act of pulling a plug. Remy turned off the main studio light switch, stepping out into the quiet hallway and locking the door behind them, ready to finally go home.